you. I'm Jamie Rowe, and I was on the panel. First, I want to thank the management for the hospitality, the graciousness, the delicious food that kind of helped us spur us on sometimes when we were getting pretty down, and the very nice engraved paperweight. And we've really been treated with great respect during this process, and we really appreciate that so much. We really appreciate Dawn also. I'm here to announce she is resigning from what she's doing from now on. I related this story to the panel. I remember a time when everyone used to have, when I was a little girl, a KUB story. But nearly always it was a real complimentary story, and they were very pleased with the outcome of whatever they had done or any dealings they had with KUB. And I'm quite certain if it had not been for the KUB cooking schools that they sponsored, my mother would have never learned to cook, much less become the wonderful cook that she did. I hope there will be more and more good stories when KUB customers are relating their experiences. This panel's worked diligently on recommendations for tree pruning that we feel will accomplish that goal. There seemed to be one common theme in all the correspondence that we received, at least to me, and maybe I was just looking for this, but almost all the emails and correspondence regarded things about how they were treated. And that really sent a resonance home to me, because kindness is free. All people deserve respect. And respect should be emphasized to all employees at all levels of KUB staff and board. Validating someone's comments or feelings goes a long way and a lot further than all the talking points in the world. Tree pruning is a very serious issue, as revealed by all the correspondence that we received during these last months. As you know, for every one comment we received, there are probably at least 10 who didn't come forward. One recommendation that failed by a slim margin was the cutting of all 6-inch diameter trees and all other vegetation. And I was very, very saddened personally by this decision. This is a policy that's very damaging to our community as a whole. And I'm asking that you consider changing that policy in light of some of the emails on that subject and the minority report. This process has been very arduous and frustrating at times, but I think we've produced a document we can be proud of, and I ask KUB Board to seriously consider implementing all the recommendations. Additionally, the minority reports have identified some other recommendations that we hope the board will not take lightly. We've spent many, many hours outside the 80+ hours of meeting time, reading, thinking, talking to people, and writing these recommendations. The board has the power to adopt these as policy, and we urge you to do so as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I promise you we will consider the recommendations very carefully. So thank you for speaking as well. Somebody else had their hand up over there. Larry?
I thought we were on once.
Good afternoon. And I join Jamie in thanking you for giving us this opportunity to speak to you today and to share some of our thoughts. Excuse me. I would like to briefly address the KUB Board about the report of the tree panel which you are officially receiving today. After 21 very long meetings since February the 5th of 2010, you have our report, which contains over 70 recommendations, along with a minority report which contains 26 additional recommendations which did not receive a majority vote by the panel. I urge you to give careful consideration to all of the recommendations contained in this report. I hope that you will examine this entire issue in a way that you have never done before. Most members of the panel have devoted over 80 hours attending meetings. Several of us have spent many times that amount of time preparing for the meetings. Our dedication and struggle to put together a meaningful set of recommendations should be honored not only with words of thanks for our time and personal sacrifice, but by the board members individually and collectively as a board taking the time to understand the issues from all sides. I urge you to study our reports carefully, to read the emails that were sent to the panel if you haven't already done so, to read the detailed memos that I wrote back in March, and to look at KUB's own raw data for yourselves regarding the relationship between trees and power outages. KUB's data for the past 5 years shows that in reality, a very small percentage of outages are caused by tree limbs inside the trim zone. KUB's excessive trimming of these trees will prevent very few tree-related outages, which are mostly caused by whole trees, often outside the trim zone, from falling in severe weather. After reading all of these recommendations approved by a panel, which was quite divided from the first day, it is apparent that the status quo with KUB's vegetation management program is just not acceptable, and that improvements must be made. The public officials of Knoxville and Knox County are calling for changes in policies which can easily be made and still satisfy KUB's needs for safe and reliable electricity. KUB needs to listen to the pleas of the community and from the panel, which was chosen to represent the community. KUB must achieve a better balance with its policies and give far greater consideration of the consequences of its policies on the community's trees, on public and private property, and give greater respect to the legal rights of property owners. For the past 4 years, I have called for KUB to return to its former policies, which allowed tree pruning, which met the legal standard of what is reasonable and necessary. The majority of the panel recommended ending the practice of ground-to-sky pruning. The minority report includes a recommendation, which was narrowly defeated by the majority, regarding the removal of hundreds of thousands of small-diameter trees per year, regardless of their height or proximity to power lines, and often without owners' consent. These two current KUB policies are not reasonable or necessary, are not required by the National Arbor Day Foundation, and are not part of any national standards. I hope that KUB will change these policies. If KUB's board does not change those two very important policies, then this panel will not have accomplished very much. It is time for KUB to treat this matter as more than a public relations problem, which can be solved with better public relations and communications. I regret very much that the board members missed the opportunity to attend more of our meetings, particularly the last several, as we struggled to approve important recommendations. You could have heard the spirited debate on all of the arguments for possible language for the recommendations, to hear from citizens who came to speak to the panel, and to hear from others who made presentations to the panel. I think you would have learned a lot more than you will from just reading our recommendations, which often do not explain why a change of policy is needed or how existing policies would be changed. I urge you now to pay special attention to the minority report, not just because of my involvement with it, but because many of the recommendations in it were defeated by only 1 or 2 votes. The recommendations for this tree panel was approved 8-1 by a City Council resolution on December 1st, 2009. The Knox County Commission unanimously passed its own resolution on April 26, 2010. It appears that the earliest any of our recommendations could be implemented will be approximately 1 year after City Council's action. I sincerely hope that the KUB board will demonstrate independent thinking and resolve so that this year will not have been wasted by those of us on the panel who worked so hard to write these recommendations, which now must be adopted and put into practice. We, along with the rest of the community and the public officials, will be waiting for your verdict. You have waited patiently for the panel to finish its work. The ball is back in your court now, at long last. I hope that you take advantage of this opportunity to do the right thing with it for everybody's sake. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay. Thank you, Larry. Well put. Some other comments? Brenda, please.
I'm Brenda Palmer. I represent City Council and will be chairing the workshop this afternoon, and I hope everyone here will attend. I would like to thank KUB for the willingness to step up and create a panel and really seriously look at the issues that we as a panel address, issues that Larry has worked on for several years, Jamie has worked on for several years, and others of us probably have just driven down the street and not really paid attention. As Bill pointed out earlier, on Millbrook Pike there was an area that KUB came through and trimmed, and they did a really neat job. It looked great. About a week later somebody came through and did this awful trimming back to the tree line. I have not been able to track that down yet. But I do want to again thank the KUB board for sticking your necks out, taking a risk to have a very public, very transparent process. We live in an age where people don't like to have things done behind closed doors. They don't like to be ignored when they have concerns. We have a lot of squeaky wheels that get oiled. When I came to the board, I had no, or to the panel rather, I had no agenda other than I want to make sure my power is on 24/7 and I don't want to rate height. So that was kind of the perspective I brought to the panel. But I'd also like to thank the fellow panel members too, because we took this very seriously. At one point we thought we were going to have to draw names to exchange Christmas presents. Luckily that didn't happen. But I think we worked diligently, and I have every confidence that you all will consider carefully. The KUB staff will look at these very carefully, and I look forward to some positive things in regard to vegetation management. And I feel confident City Council and hopefully County Commission and all of the government agencies within the KUB service area will respond favorably to these suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comments about the tree panel process or anything regarding vegetation management while we're on the subject? Okay, we've prepared a resolution number 1232 acknowledging the work of the Tree Trim Policy Review Panel and recognizing panel members for the dedicated service to the community. I guess we need a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Mr. Cole, any questions or comments about that? Comments out there from Mr. Coley, would you call the roll?
Yes, Commissioner.
One moment, please. Guys, get yourself organized there.
Well, let's do it this way. Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Cannell?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
And Commissioner Simmons. Resolution 1232 is passed unanimously. Thank you very much.
Stacy, can I ask a question or two
Yeah,
before?
please.
Are we going to come back to this or
I don't think so.
later in our
So
agenda?
while we're here, let's please,
Okay.
any discussion, comments, questions?
I want to respond to one point that Larry made, and I know that this was a bone of contention, I think, but I know personally my decision to not attend the meetings came as a result of my desire to let the committee do its work without any hint that the board was there. I mean, there have been times in the past where people have come and addressed the board and have said it's an intimidating process and that we can be intimidating, which we don't intend to be. But that's why I personally didn't attend any of the meetings, and I think that most of the board took that same approach. We appreciated very much the work y'all did, but we didn't want to do anything to be accused of influencing the work that you did.